Ashes of Earth. The sky over New York had burned for 3 days, not with fire from the ground, but from above. Sleek alien dreadnoughts had hung in orbit, black silhouettes against the sun, and from their bellies came destruction. Blue-white beams of plasma seared through skyscrapers, reducing them to molten slag. Thousands died with every blast. Millions more choked on the smoke that darkened the world's air. The Koruven Hierarchy had arrived, and they made no secret of their purpose. They were conquerors. Humanity was simply another defiant species, to be broken beneath their iron banners. In the final days of Earth, Commander Elias Rourke had fought like a man trying to hold back the tide. His task force was among the last still operating, a patchwork of carriers, gunships, and orbital defenses scattered across crumbling lines. The reports came in one after another. Shanghai gone. Sao Paulo glassed. Moscow silent. Entire battalions wiped out before they'd even fired a shot. Still, Rourke refused the order to surrender. He knew what the Koruven did to those who laid down their arms. They enslaved them, collared them, made them dig in mines until their bodies gave out, their names erased from history. No, if Earth was to fall, it would fall screaming. On the final night, he watched from a ruined bunker beneath the Rockies as the Koruven's Judicator-class battleship carved the horizon with its beams. The ground shook with every strike. Around him, soldiers and civilians clutched each other, waiting for the end. But Rourke didn't wait. He opened the battered comms console, sparks jumping from its ruined circuits, and recorded humanity's last message. His voice was ragged, blood on his lips, but his eyes burned with fire. This is Commander Elias Rourke, Terran Defense Force. To the Koruven Hierarchy, hear me. You think we'll kneel. You think we'll beg. You think Earth is broken. You're wrong. You may take our world, you may slaughter our people, but you'll never take our defiance. Humanity does not surrender. Not today. Not ever. The words echoed across shortwave frequencies, bouncing to the void, carried on pirate relays and half-dead satellites. Few heard them that night, but those who did remembered them forever. Moments later, the Koruven fleet unleashed its final barrage. Earth burned, and yet humanity survived. Scattered among colonies, hidden in asteroid bases, buried deep in forgotten outposts, the embers of defiance endured. And Elias Rourke, scarred but unbroken, carried the flame. The Ghost Fleet. The year after Earth's fall was the darkest in human history. The Koruven called it the pacification. Their war machine swept across human colonies like a storm of fire and steel. Mars fell in a week. Europa was scoured clean of life. Dozens of outposts surrendered, hoping mercy would follow. It never did. The Koruven broke them, branding survivors with control implants, forcing them into mines, shipyards, and breeding pens. Humanity became a scattered people, fractured, hunted, but not destroyed. In the shadow of the Perseus Rift, far from Koruven patrol routes, Elias Rourke lived. The world believed he died in the final bombardment of Earth, his name engraved in whispers as a martyr. That lie saved him. With a band of survivors, smugglers, deserters, scientists, miners, and soldiers, he carved out a hidden base in the wreck of an old shipyard. It wasn't much. Rusting scaffolds, half-scrap freighters, fuel tanks leaking vapors into the void. But in those bones of steel, the impossible began. Rourke stood on the gantry above Dock 6, watching as scavenged parts were welded into something new. Below him, an old mining barge was being gutted, its cargo bay stripped and reinforced with armor plating stolen from a derelict cruiser. Its engines had been reworked, patched with mismatched coils. It would never pass inspection in any real fleet, but to Rourke's eyes, it looked like salvation. Another day, another miracle, muttered Draven Holt, a former smuggler turned shipwright, wiping grease from his hands. She won't outrun a Judicator, but she'll punch holes in a patrol corvette if you fly her right. Rourke's scarred face broke into the faintest of smiles. She doesn't have to outrun them. Just kill them. The first of the Ghost Fleet was taking shape. For months, the work continued. Raiders brought in stolen parts. Scientists cracked Koruven tech, stripping down plasma drives and reassembling them with human ingenuity. Miners reforged steel into weapons. Every hand, no matter how calloused or bloodied, built toward one goal. And in the silence of the rift, Ships were born, not sleek, not beautiful, but deadly. The fleet had no flagships, no shining battleships. Instead, it was a ragtag armada of scavenged corvettes, mining rigs turned warships, freighters armed with torpedoes, and fighters cobbled together from whatever wings and thrusters could fly. The Koruven would have laughed had they known. The Ghost Fleet's baptism of fire came at Lazar Station, a refueling hub run by Koruven supply officers. Rourke chose it carefully, not too heavily guarded, but rich in fuel and munitions. Perfect prey. The Ghost Fleet emerged from the rift like wraiths. 10 ships, barely functional, each carrying the rage of a fallen species. Transmit nothing, Rourke ordered as the station came into view. No demands, no threats. They'll never see us coming. The battle lasted 7 minutes. Ghost ships struck like knives in the dark, slipping between sensor shadows. Mining lasers sliced fuel depots. Salvage railguns tore through the station's hull. Explosions painted the void in fire. When it was over, Lazar Station was a drifting corpse. The Koruven defenders, all dead. The Ghost Fleet, all alive. It was a first true human victory since Earth's fall. The news spread like wildfire. Whispers carried on pirate frequencies. Smuggled recordings of the station burning. Stories of ships with human markings striking from nowhere, killing Koruven without mercy, then vanishing into the dark. The galaxy began to name them. The Ghost Fleet. To humans trapped in chains, it was hope. To the Koruven Hierarchy, it was an infection. In the Koruven High Council, Overseer Vale hissed as reports flooded in. These vermin, they were broken, crushed. How do they still fight? Another overseer sneered. Perhaps it is their nature. Perhaps they are too stubborn to die. The Overlord's reply was cold, absolute. Then we will grind their bones into dust until the word resistance itself is forgotten. But the Ghost Fleet was not done. Rourke stood on the deck of the flagship Ashenblade, the banner of humanity painted crude and defiant across its battered hull. His people gathered around, weary but unbowed, waiting for his words. He looked at them, the miners, smugglers, farmers, soldiers. Broken people, yet burning with a fire he had only seen once before, on the night Earth died. Listen well, Rourke said, his voice carrying through the comms. They thought we'd surrender. They thought Earth's fall was our end. But look at us now. We're still here. We're fighting. And we're winning. The Koruven don't understand what we are. He paused, his scar hand tightening into a fist. Because humanity doesn't know that word. Surrender isn't in our blood. And I swear to you, by Earth's ashes, we will make them remember that. The Ghost Fleet roared in answer, their cheers echoing across the void. And in that moment, in the depths of the Perseus Rift, a war truly began. Wolves in the void. The Perseus Rift had kept them safe, but safety was never the plan. The Ghost Fleet wasn't meant to hide. It was meant to bleed the Koruven dry. And Elias Rourke knew that every victory had to be more than survival. It had to be spectacle. The galaxy had to see humanity rise again. The hunt begins. Weeks after Lazar Station burned, Koruven supply lines shifted. Convoys traveled heavier, guarded by judicator escorts. Their commanders grew wary. Yet for every adjustment, the Ghost Fleet adapted faster. In the shadow of Karna's belt, 3 freighters escorted by 2 judicators vanished without a trace. In the dead system of Veros 6, human raiders hacked NAV beacons, sending Koruven warships spiraling into a gas giant's crushing embrace. The galaxy whispered a new name for them now, wolves in the void. Each attack was a blade cut, small but precise. A freighter lost here, a patrol squadron gone there. Nothing crippling, not yet, but enough to make the Koruven bleed. And every victory fed the rebellion. Across the slave worlds, humans risked everything to smuggle messages, weapons, and even themselves toward the Ghost Fleet. A tide was rising. Mara's return. One of those arrivals was Mara Kalen, the same woman whose voice had lit the first fires on Droska 9. She emerged aboard the captured or Holograpthus, scarred but unbroken, with hundreds of freed miners at her back. When she stepped onto the deck of the Ashenblade, Rourke studied her in silence for a moment. She was younger than he expected, but her eyes carried the weight of centuries. You're the one who made them rise, he said. "And you're the one who gave them something to rise for," Mara answered. "Looks like we're not done." From that day, she became his second, the voice to his steel. Together, they forged not just raids but a movement, one that turned ghosts into an army. The ambush at Dravok Reach. The Ghost Fleet's boldest strike yet came at Dravok Reach, a choke point of Koruven supply routes. A full armada of transports, fuel, weapons, and rations moved through the system, guarded by a wall of cruisers, a prize too tempting to ignore. Against that many, Draven Holt warned in the war room, his scarred hands tracing the holographic map. "It's suicide. Only if we fight them head-on," Rourke replied, his voice calm, certain. "We don't fight like they do. We fight like wolves." The plan was madness. Bait the convoy into the asteroid field, cut apart with traps and ambushes, then vanish before reinforcements could arrive. When the day came, the Ashen Blade emerged from the rift first, broadcasting a distress beacon, a tricked-out signal mimicking a crippled freighter. The convoy moved to investigate. The moment they entered the asteroid belt, the trap closed. Hidden railguns tore into escorts. Miners-turned-gunners fired plasma cannons from hollowed asteroids. The Ghost Fleet darted between rocks, striking then vanishing into shadow. The Koruven warships fired blindly, their beams tearing apart the very convoy they were meant to protect. It was chaos. Fire, screams across comms. And when the smoke cleared, the convoy was gone, burned or captured. Humanity had seized enough fuel and munitions to fight for years. The Overlord's fury. The victory echoed across the stars. On slave worlds, humans whispered the news as though it were holy scripture. Dravok Reach is ours. But in the Koruven throne world, the Overlord's fury burned hotter than a sun. In the Grand Council chamber, Overseer Vale trembled before him. "My lord, they are only scattered remnants. This Ghost Fleet." The Overlord's claws slammed into the table, splintering obsidian. "Remnants do not cripple armadas. Remnants do not steal convoys from under our nose." His voice thundered. "These humans are no longer prey. They are predators. And predators must be hunted to extinction." A single command echoed through the Dominion. "Exterminate the Ghost Fleet." Wolves unleashed. Back in the rift, Rourke stood before his people. The Ghost Fleet had grown, dozens of ships now, not 10. Freed slaves, smugglers, even alien deserters who had suffered under the Dominion flocked to their banner. The ragtag armada was no longer just scavenged ships. It was a rebellion. Rourke's gaze swept across them, his voice steady as he spoke. "They will come for us now. With fleets, with fire, with everything they have. They believe they can scare us into chains again." He raised his fist, scarred and strong. "But listen to me. We are not prey. We are the wolves in the void. And this time, it is their blood that will fall." The cheers rose like thunder, echoing across steel halls and starry dark alike. And far away, in the depths of the Koruven Empire, fleets began to move. The war had only just begun. No surrender. The war came to the Koruven homeworld itself. Vast fleets clashed in orbit, burning the skies. On the ground, human marines planted their banner on the steps of the Hierarchy citadel. The Koruven Supreme Chancellor sneered as he was dragged from his throne. "You should have surrendered," he hissed. Elias Rourke's voice cut like steel. "Humanity doesn't know that word." The galaxy would never forget that moment, when the species of Koruven thought broken became a fire that lit the stars.